Storytelling is the single greatest skill you can acquire to assist you in your quest for a varied and successful dating life. Unfortunately, it's also one of the most difficult to learn if you are not a natural at it, and particularly if you are of a more introverted nature. That said, it's definitely possible to improve your skills with practice and persistence. If you go out to a bar tonight, you will see competition within the sexual marketplace. You will see high-value men, tall, good-looking, etc., competing with lower-value men for the attention of the women present. Now, at first sight, you would imagine this would be an easy contest for the former group. After all, if you subscribe to the Looksmax credo, then they should be the ones winning, and often they are. However, that's not the end of the story, because what you will sometimes observe is this: the tall, good-looking guys standing around with their arms crossed, unable to think of anything to say, while some less physically attractive but more socially adept man tells a story and holds everyone, including the women, rapt. Remember, female to male attraction is predicated somewhat on looks, but status trumps looks, which is why prominent people, like politicians, often end up with attractive younger wives and girlfriends, despite their physical appearances. Well, who has the highest status in the scene I've just sketched out? The man who's dominating the conversation, of course. And this is where those obsessed with looks go wrong, because, while of course you should always do everything in your power to improve your appearance, the truth of the matter is that if you are able to present yourself as being socially dominant, you will increase your attractiveness to women. This is certainly my experience, and that of a great many guys I've worked with over the years. Does this mean that if Chad walks in, the uglier man will be able to outgame him? No, probably not. But this isn't about beating hypothetical men in hypothetical situations. Rather, this is about increasing your perceived social dominance, thus making you more attractive to a wider pool of women. So, how do you gain status socially? How do you become the center of attention in our imaginary bar scene? Quite simply, you need to become a better storyteller. The power of story in all human civilizations is foundational, meaning that it supersedes culture and is at the heart of who we are as a species. From ancient cave paintings, through Neanderthals sitting around the campfire, through Shakespeare, through the movies, and through Netflix, storytelling is consistent in the development of Homo sapiens. And what all of that matters is that if you can tell a good story, and it doesn't even have to be that good, then it is as though you've been handed some strange and wonderful superhuman power. Seriously, for those who doubt what I'm saying, just go out and observe other people in the wild, in bars and restaurants, and so forth. Look at where the attention flows. Does it flow to the pretty people who say nothing, or the less attractive ones who can command attention? Story structure. So, how do you become better at telling stories? That's a complex question which you could write a whole book about. And indeed, there are many books about it, not least the Poetics by Aristotle, Story by Robert McKee, and The Hero's Journey by Christopher Vogler. But that is all advanced stuff that goes well beyond the scope of what's required here. For our purposes, it is useful only to bear in mind the very most basic building blocks of storytelling, namely that you need a protagonist who wants something, plus a beginning, middle, and an end. Let's break that down a little. A protagonist is the main character in your story. Often, particularly in social settings, this character will be you. since you'll be relating an incident from your life. But it's not enough just to present a character. That character must also have a need. For example, I was looking for a job when I went on holiday to get some sun, when I went on a date with this girl, and in each case, a protagonist plus need or desire is identified at the start. This sets the story in motion. You then require a beginning, setup, middle, complication, and an end, payoff. That is, you present your desire and what you do to satisfy it, explain what gets in the way of your doing so, and then illustrate how things turn out, either good or bad. So, for example, you might tell this story: protagonist need plus setup. I was in Thailand looking for a good time, and so I went on Tinder and asked this girl out for a date. Middle, complication. We met for drinks in this bar, and seriously, she was so hot I was nervous even to speak to her. End, payoff. But we got on really well, so I took her back to my hotel. When she got undressed though, she had a little extra downstairs. Turns out she was a ladyboy, so I kicked her out and vowed never to use a dating app ever again. I'm not claiming that this is up there with Macbeth as an example of great storytelling, and nor am I saying that a story of this nature would necessarily be your best go-to on a date or when looking to impress women. But it does show you the basic structure that is required when you want to tell a satisfying story that resonates with your audience. You'll notice, by the way, that this structure is identical to that used in most jokes. Why are good jokes so satisfying? Because they provide these same elements: protagonist plus need, and setup, complication, and a payoff. This template, which is also at the root of the so-called 3-act structure that underpins many plays and most movies, is hardwired into our psyche, at least in most of Western culture, and in that sense it is unassailable. You literally can't fail if you use it. That said, a story's overall effectiveness will also be based on other factors, including the content and also how it's delivered. We will be focusing on descriptive language and appealing to the senses in the next section. It's worth bearing in mind that you don't have to become a master storyteller, so adept that he can conjure up rich and wonderful narratives on the spur of the moment. You can pre-plan your stories, and you can use stories that work well for you time and time again. That being said, take some time to think back over your life, recent or long past, it doesn't matter, and pick out incidents that could form the basis of cool stories you can tell when you go out to meet people. You can even have a go-to at writing these down, if you like. I'm not saying you should prepare a script, but writing will help you to crystallize your stories in your mind and perfect their structure, demonstrating higher value. Finally, something very important to consider. While the manner in which you tell your stories is hugely significant, confidence, embellishment, appealing to the senses, etc., the content is also key in establishing you as the kind of guy she might want to get intimate with. This is something that Mystery, Eric von Markovic, talks about in Mystery Method. According to Mystery, there are several key points that your story should touch on to frame yourself as attractive to women. 1. Pre-selection, proving that other women want you. This is the hardest thing to fake, and one of the most powerful DHVs, demonstrations of higher value, and attraction switches there is. NB, in evolutionary biology, a signal most likely to be correct because of its difficulty to fake. 2. Leader of men, indicator of an alpha male and a social intelligence, provider of social proof and survival resources. 3. Protector of loved ones, ability to protect her, her children, and those around you. 4. Ability and willingness to emote. Correct emotional filters are in place, so you respond automatically, unconsciously, the right way to different emotional circumstances. 5. Belief in a greater cause. You are willing to devote energy to a greater cause in life, one bigger than yourself. 6. Willingness to walk away. You want her, but you don't need her. There are many other DHBs that you might also choose to highlight in your stories. Wealth, perceived, family background, sense of humor, social intuitiveness and wittiness, ability to have fun and emit positive emotions, aka vibe control, understanding how to redirect social pressure, sense of style, willingness to walk away, having strong personal values and conviction. All these DHBs demonstrate a solid congruence to a cool inner core and unique personality. List sourced from PUA lingo. Of course, you shouldn't get carried away and assume that you need to stuff all these DHVs into every story you tell. That would be unworkable and ridiculous. However, bear the list in mind and consider highlighting these key attraction vectors when you are preparing your stories.